Do you consider yourself a new age artist?
Of course
first of all?
not.
Okay. Yanni, the international superstar, is lauded as a new age artist, but his music surpasses far beyond those industry-assigned boundaries, having performed in more than 20 countries and recorded more than 35 platinum albums. But his high-intensity shows are at the core of his life as a performer, attracting thousands of fans to major venues across the world. I talked to Yanni about his musical process, his current tour, his career, and his future. Is it true that you're doing over 100 concerts over the next year?
Yeah, it could just keeps going. The management kind of changes. We'll do maybe 30 cities in the U.S. this time, but then I have to go to China again for a little while. Then we'll come back. I just wanted to tell the American public, because they're already upset I'm not making it into their cities, that there's no end to this. I'm gonna get there sometime.
And a lot of people know about you through public television, and also the fact that you do these huge concerts at historic monuments. Your concerts are an experience. They're not just your average show. So what is it that inspires you to put such a large production together?
It was very organically grown, let's say. I began by myself, playing just keyboards, electronic music, when I was in my early 20s.
In your sister's basement, right?
In my sister's basement, yeah. Then it became a band. That was a 4-piece band, all electronic keyboards and a drummer. Then I added a string quartet. But really, my music was more orchestrated. I just could not afford an orchestra. And I got a little tired of the electronics. I wanted to hear real instruments too. So I like the blend of acoustics and electronics. Right now, of course, the machinery has become incredibly powerful and very sonically much more beautiful than I remember when I was starting out.
And when you create your music now, even if you don't have the benefit of an orchestra every day when you're writing, do you use programs like Vienna Symphonic Library and the ones that can really use samples of orchestras, or do you just use the live instruments all the time?
That's a really good question. It is not necessary for me to write music. I don't just stumble on melodies. I don't play the piano and go, oh, that sounds kind of good, let me make a song out of it. I hear it. You're talking about the creative process, which I love talking about. I understand it, I learned it. It took me 30 years to understand where the music comes from. And it's a frame of mind. And it's a state of surrender. And all the music you've never written, or I've never written in my life, is in the black. That's what I call the unknown, it's the black. And that's where it's gonna come from. If you allow yourself, you're open and you surrender, then you hear the music. And it comes all at once, boom, it's right there. You let the emotion take over. Judgment and creativity are opposites. They cannot be in the same room at the same time. You have to become the music. If you judge it, if you just say, wow, that was cool, that was nice, the creative moment ceases to exist, because you go outside looking in at yourself, writing. Therefore, it's finished. So when you go to find what the next note is, it's not there.
Okay, so when you find this and it's within you, how do you get it down then? How do you actually get it so that you don't forget it, or that it's saved? That
used to bother me when I was a kid. So I created a quick shorthand, musical shorthand that nobody else deciphers. It looks kind of like hieroglyphics.
Really?
But it's very quick, and it reminds me of things I've been through in my mind. But nowadays, after so many years of doing it, the musical memory has developed. So I almost never forget something that I've been through. As soon as it goes through my mind and I hear it, I know I'm never going to forget it.
So you can show up to the recording studio and just have everything here?
Yes. How else are you going to do a whole orchestra? Let's say the French horns, I hear the French horns, the violins, the cello, the flute, the piano, the keyboards, the other keyboard player, the bass player, the drummer, all that stuff. How are you going to do it with two hands? You can't, it's limited. So then you have to have it here, and it begins with, I go start recording different tracks. and putting it all together, knowing exactly what I'm doing. You can't accidentally
That's
write these songs.
fascinating. So the people that are actually in your orchestra, they just do what you tell them to do, but they have no idea what the finished product is going to sound like. But you have everything here.
Yes. I can actually, I can show them what it sounds like, but I go, okay, nobody can replace a real violin. I don't care what library you have on your keyboards and how
Right.
expensive it is. So I can give them the notes. I give them to an orchestrator. By playing it on a keyboard, it goes through MIDI, it gets recorded, and then the computer spits out some notes and they correct them, and the violin player gets to see what I want him to play. But then I got to sit with them and say, well, I meant it this way. You have to soften up here, a little louder there, put the
amazing.
vibrato here, you know, stuff that cannot be written on a piece of paper anyway.
Right. Okay. So it really is an extraordinary talent that not everybody has, because you're able to tap into the things in your consciousness.
Yeah, thank you. Yes,
Okay.
it is. It's not strange, and I think people can understand it more if you say you're in the zone. It's a place of surrender. That's the key. The key is no judgment. Just let it be. Let it come to you.
It's fascinating because you are an instrumentalist, and the music didn't necessarily break through on radio right away. So you were a pioneer in this genre, and especially breaking it into the mainstream. How did you get radio to be receptive to what you were doing?
It's still not that receptive because I don't do singles. I write music, and I don't write music that's good this year. Oh, this is selling this year, so I'm gonna go write some stuff that sounds kind of like that, because that's what people like this year. I always wrote music that I enjoyed, and it comes from life experiences. I take my time with albums. It's like, what do I feel like? Everything begins with an emotion. What does it feel like? It's traveling around the world, learning, going through different cultures, understanding their instruments, understanding who they are. It changes you. Then you have a need to speak. And this the way I express myself is with notes and melodies and rhythms and sounds. And
what inspired you to use public television also as a vehicle to get your music around the world?
it was because truly, the first video that I did that gave me exposure to all over the world was the Acropolis video, which I think eventually became the second best-selling video of all time, which surprised everyone, including myself. I thought when we were making it, I paid for it because nobody believed in it. They said, what are you doing? You're going to play with some orchestra in some Greek ruins and you're going to come back and with instrumental music and try to sell it to America? Mm-hmm. How is it going to work? And everybody went, nope, we're not putting money into this. We're not going to help you. You're going to fail and you're going to lose everything. And I bet all my money on it. We went there, we did it, and it was a huge success. And even public television at the very beginning, as close as I am with them, I'm one with them right now, they were reluctant to play it. And they began, maybe 10 stations began playing it, and it was such a hit that eventually everybody started playing it, and they were playing it for years. So much so that at one point I thought, stop playing it, you're going to burn it out.
Well, okay, so here we are now. You have more than 35 platinum records, more than 20 million copies, probably a lot more than 20 million.
Of course.
If you have 35 platinum records, right?
Yes, of course.
But, and so you broke in and really broke in and stayed there. But album sales in general are slower than they were in the 1980s and the 1990s when top artists were doing multi-platinum records.
Yes.
To millennials, music is free now.
Mm-hmm.
So how has that affected the new age genre, and how has that affected you? How have you adjusted your model?
I have not. I write music for myself. I just write it because I have to write music. It's part of what I do. And then the more people can have access to it, the better it is for me. Like I go to China, and I know I play there, and maybe I've sold 100,000 albums, and there are 1.5 billion people, and I know there's more than 100,000 albums.
Right.
But I don't mind. You know, we just came in, 10, 11, 12 days ago, we're in Tunisia. There was 27,000 people came to see the concert at a really bad time in the country too. It was very specific. We haven't sold one album in Tunisia, and they all knew the songs. Everybody knew all the songs we were playing.
Okay, so really, it's that live show that continues to reinforce and to bring even younger people to your shows, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. It's the way to, yes. I love contact with the audience. I love feeling them. There's something that's irreplaceable.
And you really do have a lot of energy as a performer. Were you always like that, or did it take you time to evolve as a performer and to perfect your craft?
Very, very well said. Yes, it took time to evolve and perfect my craft, and it took a long, long time.
What are the keys to giving a really strong performance?
Again, surrender. Just, you know, at the very beginning, before I go on stage, even 30 years later, I still get the butterflies. It's good. It's not fear. It's an excitement, a state of excitation, sometimes too much, to the point to where at the very beginning my hands might be shaking for a minute or two. Then
Even now?
Even now. Then I settle down and I feel the audience. The audience just takes you in. And when you have 10,000, 20,000 people just focusing their attention just on you, it's amazing. You feel it goes right through your chest. And when you feel love, and they hug you, and then all of a sudden you just explode. You're so comfortable, like I'm in my living room and I'm in contact with them. We become one thing, the whole audience. I try to accomplish that every night. I need to connect with the audience. I need them to feel me, and I need for me to feel them. And then becomes a vortex, and it climbs up.